The last one. That was number what? Dikina.
So with you, because I had a previous miscarriage and because I had fibroids, and I would just have from time to time just this excruciating, almost like a spasm. And it would literally make me pass out.
Imagine, that's how severe
That's
it
how
would be.
that's how severe. And I had the lump.
Yeah.
It was constantly there.
On the So, welcome to Family Matters with Dr. Q, your favorite gynecologist. And yes, usisi wasesingqongqweni uqinisile cele kuqubu road ubuyile now to do all things baby making, to talk again and give you insight. And we want you to be part of this, and we are sharing experiences with you to know that you are not alone and there are options for you. And the main reason why we are having these podcasts are actually to give you hope, are actually to tell you that there are people who've gone through the same experiences. There are people who've walked the same path, and they have gone through different trials, different hurdles, and they've managed to overcome. And joining us today is the lovely Dikina Wedi.
Hi.
And welcome, darling.
Hi, Dr. Q.
How are you today?
I'm good.
You are good.
I'm good. It's been a while, and seeing you look amazing.
Thank you,
as
darling.
Always.
Thank you, mommy.
As
Looking
always.
good as well.
Hey, mama 4 kids. Mama 4 kids. It's crazy. You look amazing.
Thank you, darling. And thank you so much for making time to being with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been a couple of years since we've been together, but hey, we've met in 2016.
Yes.
2016, Dikina came to my rooms. I've been treating your mom,
My sisters.
your sisters.
I think there's like 5. She is the Wedi family gynecologist. I think she's treating like 5 of us.
Yeah.
And then a 6th one. My youngest one, my youngest sister, who just got married.
Oh, wow.
And I gave her your
Yes.
details.
Yes.
Like, you don't go to anyone but Dr. Q.
Speak about a family gynecologist.
Like 3 generations. She's treating all the generations in our family.
We thank God for that. And you know what? I thought, since we are doing fibroids today, no better story of hope than yours. And I called you up. Guys, speak about enthusiasm. Speak about willingness to share, willingness to help, willingness to teach. And I am so grateful that you made it.
No, thank you. Thank you for calling me. Thank you.
So take us through our very first meeting. It was 2016. You walked into my office. You were having an early pregnancy.
Yeah.
And plus minus 7 weeks or so.
Yes.
And how did that very first visit and meet up with me turn out for what you were anticipating?
So let me actually just go, let me take a step back, because I had been looking for a gynae, because I think 2015 I had moved from France to South Africa with my now ex-husband and my son. And in 2016 we found out we were pregnant, and I was like, look, I only want the best. And so I did my searches online, and then your name kept coming up.
Is it?
Your name kept coming up, and then first other people were trying to, but then I kept going, and then what touched me about your website was the fact you had scripture.
Is it?
The fact that you had scripture, and also just the pictures of your Dr. Q is stylish.
Oh,
So
my
I
word.
was like, so
Okay, that fits in with you.
it fits in with me. So and that's how I called, and I got an appointment quite quickly, and I had found out that I was pregnant, and so we just wanted to just double check that everything was fine, because before that pregnancy I had already had a miscarriage. And so for me, I was like, look, I want to go to the best. And I saw that you were also dealing with fertility and all those issues. So I was like, you know what, and plus you're a woman, gynae. So for me, I was like, okay, she ticks all the boxes, let's go. And so when we came in, first thing that I remember, Israel Houghton was playing and you always had this thing where you always had praise and worship in the waiting room. And it was just like I walked in and I had peace. And I remember telling my husband at the time that, yeah, I found my doctor. Like, because you want to be with someone who also aligns, because I'm a woman of faith. And I would rather be with someone, if someone is going to treat me physically, I wanted to be somebody who is also entrenched in the word of God, so that, you know, we are aligned spiritually
as well.
And for me, then, even if, you know, it's bad news that I have to take, then I know that, whatever it is that you're doing, you're guided by God.
Exactly.
And so for me, those were key criteria, and I just had a peace when I walked in there. And thank God, because I think it was at that meeting when we had the first meeting. I don't know if it was the first or the second meeting that we actually found out that there was no heartbeat.
So you had a miscarriage where the pregnancy was still inside, but there were no signs that the baby was no longer alive.
Yeah.
So I had to, unfortunately, be the bearer of the bad news. And how did that work out for you?
So funny enough, it was almost as if I had prepared myself because I had a previous miscarriage and because I had fibroids and I had consulted doctors before, and they had always told me that, look, there will always be a risk. And because my first pregnancy was so complicated and I almost lost my baby several times.
Oh my word.
So it was devastating, but at the same time, I would rather it be that early rather than much later.
Yeah.
Because I felt that would be just too traumatic. So at least if it was in the early stages, then as sad as it was, it's so horrible to say it, but I was literally, when I came to you, I was on my third miscarriage because I had two in France before my first child.
Okay.
And then this was us now trying for a second child, and it was it was now the first miscarriage after having after the delivery. So I was sad, but it's funny.
It was easy.
It's I was sad, but I had peace. I had peace about it because of the fact that, one, it was early. That you don't have to, you hear stories of women who lose who have a miscarriage at 7, 8 months.
Yes.
And I was like, Lord, at least I'm grateful that it's not that advanced. And
it's funny that we always tell I get you so well, because I would tell people that, look, it's better earlier than later. Not that it's better, because now at advanced stages, you've bonded with the baby. You've probably given him or her a name, and you're preparing a room and all of that. So your miscarriages mostly happened in first trimester.
Always, yeah.
Always in first trimester. So you never made it beyond 9 weeks.
The last one, remember, we made it to 11 weeks.
To 11 weeks.
It was
with the last one.
With the last one.
Okay, so the last one. That was number what? Dikina.
So with you, hey.
We're talking the effects of fibroids and miscarriages.
Yes.
You've gone through so numerous miscarriages.
Yeah.
With the fibroids still in situ.
Yeah.
And it was eventually how many? Because it ended up breaking my heart so many
with
times.
you, we ended up having 3
3 miscarriages. So you had plus minus 5 miscarriages
plus 1
in your lifetime.
in my life, yeah.
All mostly first trimester.
Yes. The last one was in the beginning of the second trimester.
Okay.
Because remember the second one, it was I think it was December 2017. Because I had come to see you just before we went away for holiday, December holidays.
Yes.
And we had actually completed the
first
trimester.
Okay.
Because I think I came to see, I think it was 12 weeks.
Okay.
And then we went on holiday. And then when we came back at the beginning of 2018, I started bleeding, and I was like, something wasn't right. And then when I came to see you again, and that's when you saw that there was no heartbeat. And I think it was 13, 14 weeks.
14 weeks,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to fibroids, you've been told that you have fibroids. Well, fibroids are not known as to what really is the cause of fibroids. And maybe we can start by saying, what is a fibroid in your own understanding? What do you understand this thing to have been? What were you going through? When we talk, another name for it is myoma. So when we talk myoma or when we talk fibroids, just to a layman, what is it to you?
So I understood it as a growth, because how I discovered that I even had fibroids was when I was in France. One day I went to the bathroom and I was just overcome with excruciating pain. A twist, sort of like a twisting, like my insides were being twisted. And I passed out. And when I woke up in the emergency room, and they did exams, and then they told me, oh, actually, you've got fibroids. And I was like, okay, first of all, I don't know what that means. And the way they explained to me was that I had growth. There was growths. And when they did the examinations, they said there was 2 growths. My mind automatically went to cancer. Because when they're explaining to me that they've identified 2 growths, one on the left, one on the right, my mind automatically went to cancer, because the only thing I understand about growths is tumors, and my dad being an oncologist, I thought that I had cancer.
Imagine.
And so the doctor sat me down and explained to me that no, it's not cancerous. It's growths probably because I haven't had children before. And the way he explained it to me, it was funny. He says, when your uterus is meant to carry life. And when it does not carry life, it creates a growth for it to feel like there's a baby inside.
It makes its own babies.
It makes its own babies. That's how he explained it to me.
Really? How old were you at that time? I just want to...
I was 26.
26, that young.
Or 27, yeah.
Imagine.
It was the first time. And then, so I asked them, okay, do I cut him out? So what's that? And he was like, no, don't do anything. He first asked me, he's like, do you have children? I said, no. He's like, have you ever had children? I said, no. And he's like, do you want children? I said, yes. And he was like, then we should not touch them. Because if we cut them out, you have then the risk. There's a risk that it might create complication for conception, and for you to be able to carry a baby to full term. And then obviously there's risks of bleeding. And so his advice to me was like, look, since they're not cancerous, leave them alone. Leave them alone.
Until you have your babies.
And he said, try and get pregnant, have your babies, And once you've had all your babies, then take them out.
No wonder then the reluctance that I experienced with you. So to the audience, fibroids, yes, she's right in saying they are growths, but we will describe them as non-cancerous growths in the muscle of the womb. So they are tumors, but we call them benign tumors. So tumors can be benign, meaning non-cancerous, or they can be cancerous, which is malignant. So fibroids then are these growths in the muscle of the womb that then go on to increase in size. So as you're explaining, then most women wouldn't know. Others will feel that there is a large mass in the tummy. Some will feel it. Others will feel as if they're just gaining weight. They're like, oh, ginalim kaba, and I just have a pot belly or whatever. But then others will feel this pain and it will be constant. Sometimes it's worse during periods.
Yeah.
And then others will feel it during intercourse. Others will say there's something moving in me like a snake or something, because then, it's dwindling left and right, even as people move. Then others will have these very heavy periods and very painful periods. Did you experience any of these? You've explained the pain. So you were not symptomatic in terms of heavy bleeding, painful sex.
No, I would just have from time to time just this excruciating, almost like a spasm. And it would literally make me pass out.
Imagine, that's how severe
That's
it will
how
be.
that's how severe. And I had the lump.
Yeah.
It was constantly there.
On the left.
There was, especially the one that was on the left. It was a constant. I felt it was literally, I felt it there.
Yeah.
And funny enough, when I got pregnant with Joshua, he was lucky enough. The doctors told me that he was lucky because he was situated on the opposite side of the fibroid.
Yes.
And it was funny because my stomach grew this way. It was such a funny shape.
Is it?
But because of the hormones, the fibroids, as Joshua grew, my pregnancy progressed.
Yes.
My fibroids grew also.
Yes. Because they grow on estrogen. And now you have so many hormones feeding this baby. They are also like, we also your babies. Like, we're going to grow with the other. So it's more like a competition.
Yeah.
And that's how fibroids then go on to affect pregnancies. And I want us to go through your experience now. You had Joshua, you first had miscarriages, then you had your first delivery. Then after that, it was miscarriage after miscarriage. And I was meeting you. And what was my advice in this whole situation, which I understand now is contrary to what you were told previously?
Yeah. So it's actually funny because when I was in France, I had actually gone to 3 different doctors, and all of them told me the same thing.
Imagine.
And so I come to you, and you like, first of all, you like, because when you examined me with the first pregnancy and the first marriage, you saw, and you were like, how? But you didn't take these out with you.
Yeah.
And that's when I told you that, no, they told me not to. And then they didn't take them out. And then you offered when I had the first miscarriage, because I think you did the DNC. Yeah. You offered to take them out, to cut them out. And I said, no. I want to have more kids. Yeah. Because in my mind, this was the thing that if you take them out,
you won't be able to have kids.
We're going to have you. I'm not going to have.
And I'm saying the contrary. That listen, if you want a healthy pregnancy, remove the fibroids. Then you have a safe environment for your baby to grow without competing with these all other fibroid babies.
Yeah.
Okay. Confusion.
I was so confused. Honestly, I was so confused. I was just like, I don't understand. Because I've got 3 different doctors over there in Europe telling me that I will literally be, sterile after this, considering how big my fibroids are.
Were.
And there's no way a child will thrive because of the scarring and all of this. And Dr. Q is like... this is the first thing that we first need to do before you get pregnant again. Like, if you knew you had fibroids, why are you getting pregnant with these fibroids? So, so it was a bit of a struggle. It was a bit of a struggle for me to first, but after the third miscarriage, I was broken.
I can imagine. I was right along with you.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what, Dr. Q, like, and you know, I had other things that were going on because at the time, I was separating from my husband, and so I was like, you know what, I'm separating. I'm getting divorced. This miscarriage, this is the third miscarriage. I can't carry on like this. So maybe also for my own health, let me just take them out, and then, Lord, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And then so after the third miscarriage, I think that's when I came to you and I said, let's take them out.
Let's take them out. No. And that was quite a brave step on your side. And I knew how reluctant you were overdoing the procedure. And I really felt convinced that given the opportunity for me to go in and clean out your womb, and that's what I would call it. Like, listen, it's like wanting to plant in a field, and the field is full of rocks, and you're just throwing your seed in there. It's not going to have room to implant, to grow its roots deep down. It's not going to have room to breathe, to get all the nutrients, because the rocks are there.
Yeah.
And that's how I think I explained it to you. And I remember even Daddy, the oncologist, came in one of the visits. You were supposed to go to theater. You were close to the theater date.
Yes.
And then Daddy comes into the consult. I'm like,
I was
my word.
I was just like, Dr. Q, explain to my dad. Because he's also a doctor. So if I'm going to do this, Dr. Q, please
go ahead.
Explain to my...
And suddenly Daddy was my patient. I'm like, oh my word. And how did that consult go? Was Daddy convinced? Well, because you went through the op.
Yeah. And I think, why Dad was convinced by you, because I said, Dad, please come with me because I'm going to do, and he was like, are you sure? And I was like, and he was like, and he's like, Dr. Kido, I remember, I think she did a rotation under me at some stage.
Is it?
And at Kalafong.
Oh, is it?
You actually did a rotation under my dad.
Okay. Imagine. And then
so when he came and he recognized you, and then when he listened to you and then you explained, because I had told him what all these other doctors were saying. And obviously he's a pediatrician. He's not a gynecologist.
Yes.
So for him, I think for him to feel like, okay, and support me in this, I think he wanted to hear it from you.
Exactly. Like, does this doctor know what she's talking about?
Yes. And then so when you explained it to him in medical terms, I remember we went out, and on our way to the car, he said, do it.
Really?
What she's saying, he says, it makes sense. Do it. He's like, even if you decide that you don't want to have any, but at least get the fibroids out. Because outside of the pregnancies, the fibroids were giving me complications. I would having this excruciating pain. And then there was, even during my pregnancy with Joshua, one of them, I forgot the medical term, where I don't know if it bleeds.
Necrotic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Necrosis. Yes.
Yeah.
And that literally put me in hospital twice.
Really?
Because of how severe the pain was.
Yeah, when they run out of blood supply.
Yeah. I could not move my entire body because the pain was, even walking was shooting down and I had to be bedridden for 5 days, and it happened twice. One to the fibroid on this side and one to the fibroid on the other. And both times I thought that I was like something was happening to the baby, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It
just
was
the
both
fibroids.
the fibroids not getting enough.
These jealous
blood.
babies were not getting
And
enough blood because now blood is focusing on the real baby.
Exactly. And then and my dad was there when the first one happened. And so after you explained to him everything, I remember us walking to, he's like, dude, she knows what she's talking about.
Amen to that. That's interesting. That's good to know. Because really, outside pregnancy, there is a quality of life that you need to live. And if you are heavily bleeding, you become anemic now because of fibroids, you are in pain the whole time, then there's no quality of life. So whether or not the baby comes, but your own life takes precedent, and then you are now clearing the way for a healthier pregnancy.
Correct.
So that is why then we recommend that, look, go through the myomectomy, especially if it's in a skilled professional. If it's with a skilled professional, then you know that you're safe. We do warn the biggest complication of removing fibroids, more than not having babies or whatever, if the job is done well, then you stand to have your baby. We recommend nothing less than 6 months, which you didn't obey, of waiting before falling pregnant again. But it could be for the scars to heal well. For most people, we say 2 years before you consider pregnancy again, so that the scars can heal. But here she is the chance taker. Or God decided, actually, because, hey, it doesn't look like you had set with a menstrual calendar or anything, you know?
So we're being honest.
Yes. Yeah.
Guys, so when I had my myomectomy with Dr. Q, I had already separated. with my ex-husband. And so I spent the first month at my mother's house.
Okay.
And then, so obviously I'm not counting for healing.
Yeah.
So I'm not counting calendars and things. And then when I went back, we were already literally living in separate rooms. And for me, this was I'm healing and I'm deciding,
You're going through a lot.
I'm going through a lot. And then, you have
brothers.
You make stupid mistakes.
Which are part of heavenly plans sometimes.
Like unplanned, unforeseen circumstances. Honestly, in my mind, there was no way that I was going to be pregnant.
Really?
I had absolutely, I was healing because I think I got pregnant 3 months after the removal. So in my mind, first of all, I wasn't counting my cycle. I wasn't, because we hadn't been active in months. So I wasn't counting. My mind was on on other things.
Yes.
And it's so as soon after that, I moved back home. I moved back to my mother's because I actually went back to go get my stuff, and then I moved back.
Home.
I moved back home, and funny enough, the first month I saw bleeding.
Yeah.
I thought it was my period.
Okay.
So I was just like, ooh, dodge that bullet.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And then the second month, the second month rolls around, and I notice that my period hasn't come. And I'm noticing, me when I'm pregnant, I know.
Okay.
Because my symptoms are very, very clear, like the swelling, the swelling of the breasts, and the cramps.
Yes.
And
stretching.
And I was like, there's no way. Dr. Q, you were the second person that I told outside of my sister who helped me get the pregnancy test. Because I was now like, you know what? New lease on life. I've moved back home. I'm gymming now. And I was gymming hard. This is why I was like, there's no way that I'm pregnant. Because in the previous pregnancies, as soon as I was active, as soon as I was, being a little too active, that's when I would notice the bleeding and stuff, and then I would have to come to you.
Okay.
And so all this time, I'm gymming 5 times a week.
Really?
I started gymming
Hardcore.
hard.
Really?
5 times a week. I'm running. I'm doing so. I'm like, there is no way that I'm pregnant, because if I was pregnant, like all my other pregnancies, I would have had some sort of sign or complications. But my boobs are swelling and they're sore. So it must be like PMS or something.
Not pregnancy.
Not pregnancy. And then
It would have
also,
complicated by now.
Exactly.
Looking at your previous history.
Exactly. And then with the myomectomy, there was bleeding, and so I'm thinking, okay, there's I'm not even thinking about any of that stuff.
Possible pregnancy.
And it's only like after the first month I don't see anything, and I'm like, okay, maybe my cycle is rebooting or something. And then the third month, I think it was the after 16 weeks, I think, because when I came to you and I was like, Dr. Q, there's no way that I'm pregnant, and then you're like, babes, you're 16 weeks. and this baby is healthy and strong, and the egg, the sac, everything is perfectly. I'm just like, I don't understand, because all my pregnancies have always been this delicate, careful. And now, like, I just did not care.
And there the pregnancy grows. How did the previous miscarriages affect yourself mentally? And did they even go on to affect your relationships, maybe at work and your marital relationship? Were there effects from what you were going through? Because now it's fibroids having an effect on your mental health, having an effect on your physical health, then the miscarriages adding onto that pain of loss, and then your relationship. How was there an effect?
It definitely had an effect in a lot of ways. And I think that people don't understand that when a woman loses a baby, it affects her, whether it's in the first trimester, whether it's in the first year, it's a traumatic event. And how it affected particularly my marriage, is that I would still suffer. I would suffer the loss, but then the more of the miscarriages I was having, I felt like I was suffering alone, because my partner was there for me for the first time, and he was also devastated. And then the second one, and then because I was determined, I was like, I'm going to have my babies.
Yes.
And so it got to the point where, first of all, like how it affected our relationship was, yes, intercourse was painful, and especially when they were swelling, when they were, the way there was necrosis and all of that. And, a person who's not in your body cannot understand.
It's like you're making it up.
It's like you're making it up. And sometimes I literally, like, because I felt bad that we hadn't been intimate in weeks. And now when he wants to be intimate, this is when I'm suffering the most. I literally just had to be like, you know what, just suck it up. And by doing that, I also then resented him.
Yes, because you're going through
this Because
pain.
I'm going through this myself. I'm trying to explain it to him. He's not understanding. He feels that I'm giving excuses. And then I feel resentful to him because I feel like he's not being supportive and he's not understanding what I'm going through in my body. And then also with the miscarriages, I think one of the things that the miscarriages did was it did drive a wedge. It did drive a wedge between us, because especially the last two, I remember vividly that, look, when you told us, the last two, he didn't even react. He didn't even react.
Was it his way of dealing with the pain? Or
I thought initially, but afterwards, then I remember him telling one of my sisters, because when you gave me the pill, I literally was, hey guys, don't take the pill. Just do the DNC.
Okay, tell me about it. So you had an option of doing the DNC.
So I had the DNC the previous time.
Yes.
And then the next time, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be in the hospital then. And so let me just do the DNC and you then evacuate. But you know, Dr. Q says that, look, it's like you're going into labor. But I don't think you realize, because you think that, okay, it's going to cramp a little bit. No, you are in labor.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, and I think with the fibroids, it's made it so much worse. And guys, just a story time. So Dr. Q gives me the pill, because I told the doctor, I don't want to go under. I don't, just give me the pill this time. And so Dr. Q gives me the pill, and she says that, look, it's going to kick in about an hour, and just make sure you get home. And
pain medication.
You gave me pain medication. Call me if you need anything. And then you even told him, he's like, look, just be there for her. And I think you're giving him advice. Guys, I drove from Dr. Q's myself with the pain starting.
Really?
He refused to drive. And then I'm going through, so he says,
thank God we're smiling now.
We're smiling now.
About
it's
it.
fine. It's a funny story, but you know, it's things that, you know, that help us grow.
Yeah.
And so my partner at the time tells me, look, since you're going to go through this thing, can we stop at McDonald's first? And get some food, because I know we're not going to.
Oh, okay.
And then when we get to my mother's house, that's when the pain started. And so I went to my room, and my mom and my sisters were there to help me. But I think that he had just been so over it that he was not there. And for me at that point, I think that that's when I knew that, you know what, this is over. Shame. Because for me to go through this myself, I literally felt like I was in labor. And it's not like you're in labor, but you're excited to see you're in labor because you're losing your child. And and your partner, the person who helped you create this life, is not even willing to be there and go through this with you. It was the most alone I've ever felt in my life. And I'm surrounded by my mom, my sisters who are there holding my hand and encouraging me, praying me through this process. But I felt completely alone. And I think it was at that moment where I think it broke.
I'm so
sorry. It is, you know, it's... And, you know, the frustration of, oh, we have to go to the doctor, you need to take me to the doctor and stuff. It does create a strain on the relationship. And, you know, you have to, it's something that I think that, you know, when we say, you know, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, people don't realize what they're talking about. Because when you're living it and you can see it's hard for the other person, and maybe the person doesn't know how to deal, how to help you in that moment.
They're also overwhelmed.
They are overwhelmed.
They are in it, but outside it. I think, I think that's where maybe counseling will also assist, maybe talking, communication would also assist.
Yeah.
And I don't like sometimes how, even though sometimes it's the men that excludes themselves, but I really appreciate us having the male figure also involved, as you're saying, that I was trying to guide him to say, look, be there for her.
Yeah.
but he's also a patient, you know, and they would say the fact that I'm not going through the miscarriage myself doesn't mean that I'm also not a patient. And some men will be like, watching her go through this is so traumatic for me that I can't handle, because then they feel helpless. Men are practical beings. They want to know there's a problem here. How can we solve it? You know, and then when they feel that, look, we just have to let the problem continue, then they feel helpless. And maybe that's what also he was going through in his own way. But I think men listening out there, please do understand that we would love for you to be on board, even if it's not to say anything, but just holding her hand, having your shoulder, you know, holding tapping her on the shoulder, a kiss on the forehead, a kiss on the cheek, you know. It makes a difference to say, I can't help. Difference. It's better for us to cry together than for us to cry in our own corners.
Correct.
And this is the message I want to bring forth, because a lot of women are suffering with endometriosis, which also causes excruciating pain, that men feel like, you're just denying me my rights. I'm your husband, you know, and they don't understand. And this pain is real. Pain from fibroids is real. And we need to find ways together as to what's the next best thing that we can do that can alleviate the situation and get us to a path where we are healthy. Of which now it was the operation for you.
It was.
How was the experience of now finally going through this daunting experience that you didn't even want for yourself, and now you find yourself being wheeled into theater? You're going to be put under, which you were trying to avoid even with the evacuation. What was your emotions and your feeling during the theater time? Because I know a lot of patients do not want to be operated, and the worst case scenario in terms of having your fibroids removed or going under the operation of a myomectomy is losing the risk of losing your womb or losing your life or bleeding to death. All those complications that I also had to explain to you, but at the same time reassure you of the safety measures that we take to avoid that situation. Now you feel like a cow going under slaughter. How was that experience for you?
I won't lie. It is scary, especially when they move you from your room to that space just before you go in. And luckily, you know, Dr. Q has this thing where she comes out and she makes jokes. Hi, darling. How are you?
Okay.
Try and relax you. And but yes, you think about everything that could go wrong and what. But I'm like I said, I'm a woman of faith.
Amen.
And I think you and I had consulted about this. You had been trying to convince me to do this for 2 years. And I was like, look, let's just do it. Best case scenario, I'll finally have the fibroids gone. I will no longer be in constant pain. And the thing is, I trust you. I trust you because I had like 2 or 3 previous procedures with you. And it's important. It's important to know your doctor. It's important to know who, it's important to trust your doctor. Ask all the questions. I asked, I even brought my father.
You know,
to come and
when
test
she was
her.
done with the questioning, the father had to come.
So I trusted at that point, Dr. Q, I was over the pain and all of that. I was just like, you know what? I've got nothing left to lose at this point. And I trusted you. I trusted you. So, and we prayed. We prayed with my mom, with my sisters, the day before, the day of, the morning of. And I honestly, I remember going in there and having peace.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you know, like seeing you, a familiar face in your scrubs and everything.
Just gave you peace.
It just gave me an additional, I was already at peace, but an additional reassurance that And you're like, you know what, it's going to be fine. And you were
Yes,
smiling.
yes.
You didn't look like you were nervous
Yeah.
or anything. I was like, okay, she knows what
She's
she's
got
doing.
this. She's got this.
She's got this because she's chill, making jokes. She's about to cut me open, but
You know?
she's
I'm like,
smiling. She's, and not just another day.
Okay.
So
And then we went through the operation, and then we've talked about then how you found out about the pregnancy. And then
when I came out, Dr. Q took a picture, guys. And she said, my girl, there was more than 2.
yes, oh yeah.
You were like so surprised. You're like, I don't know how you even had Joshua.
Yeah.
Because when you said that when you had opened it up, there was, yes, the big 2, which you cut
Yes.
out, but there were several ones. And
Coming.
so you...
And actually, I checked your histology results just yesterday, and the laboratory report said we found 9 fibroids.
Yeah.
And the biggest of them was 115 millimeters, which is 11 centimeters,
Yeah.
0.5. That's the biggest of them all. So
Yeah.
that's like just over a baby's head, hey? That you were carrying around.
I thought you were
And
only going to take out 2, and then you told me, like, we found 7 more. I was just like, huh?
we had to clean out, girl. Like, we had to get ready for, is it Yina?
Naya.
Naya. Let's see the beautiful products. Naya
Yes.
can just come in and say hi. And thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah.
And I love the confidence and the reassurance that you're able to give to our viewers. What would be your last words to the people out there who've gone through your experience, the miscarriages, the losses, the fibroids, all of that?
Definitely never lose hope.
Amen to that.
Never, never, never lose hope. When I came back to South Africa, and you know what, let's be honest, we go in Europe and you think that, we trust these European doctors who have, this first world technology and this and this and this. And my saving grace was actually coming back here, coming back to Africa and meeting Dr. Q, a woman of faith, who is an expert in her field. And what I love about Dr. Q, and this is what I would go to a doctor, go to a specialist, guys. Speak to your doctor, get a second opinion, and understand that, hey, baby.
Hey, you. And where's Joshua?
Joshua.
Come. He's sleeping. How are you, my angel?
So this is Naya. This is the baby that Dr. Q facilitated through after the removal of the fibroid. This is the baby I got pregnant with.
Hey.
And then this is the baby that, and you were there. You actually brought Naya.
Yes,
you
delivered.
Yes, you delivered because you were on maternity leave.
Yeah.
But you came back to deliver her.
Naya.
To deliver Naya.
Imagine, because I also had my little one just before her. Thank you so much. And to all our audience, we want to give you hope. We want to encourage you to walk through your health journey. Find the best expert that can be of assistance to you and hold your hand throughout the journey. Our wish and our prayers for you is to have a healthy life, a healthy pregnancy, and a healthy family. We love you. Till next time. Thank you.